Hi there, in today's video we'll be going through what our course books look like at Spectrum Tuition. But firstly, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. So can you answer yes to any of the following? Is your child struggling with school due to gaps in knowledge? Is your child getting bored at school because they're not being challenged enough by the work? Are you unsure of how your child is performing at school? Are you unsure of what work is being covered in class? Are you unsure of how your child is performing in relation to the other students in the class? Is your child not getting consistent homework? Are you concerned that topics are not being taught in a logical sequence at school? And is your child not getting consistent or quality feedback? If you can answer yes to any of these questions, then the Spectrum Tuition program might be what you've been looking for. So at Spectrum Tuition, our aim is to give students a consistent and structured learning experience to ensure they learn the curriculum or prepare for a competitive exam in an efficient and effective manner. We do this by continually refining our materials in order to take the guesswork out of providing consistent, high-quality tutorials. Our weekly workbooks give our students everything they need in order to master new skills each week. And it also enables a clear line of communication between students, tutors, and parents. So for all new students, we start off with a free assessment to determine your child's existing level. This assessment will test students across several year levels to pinpoint your child's actual level in English and mathematics. And once this level has been determined, students will be placed into the most appropriate class based on their ability. So let's have a look at the course book. So every book has this cover sheet. Okay, so we have objectives to achieve by the end of the class. Every week there will be homework as well as a quiz where the results are posted online for you to have a look at and track. And the other purpose behind the quiz every single week is to make sure that there's a purpose behind doing the homework. So you would have experienced this yourself at school. So often there is a test at the end of the term, and often the books aren't looked at until the end of the term when there is that test. So by making sure that we have this quiz at the beginning of every single class, it means that students are continually revising their work each and every week. For our English classes, we also have a spelling test every single week. If during the week your child has any issues with any of the work, we encourage them to write down those questions on this question slip so that when the students hand up their books the following week, the tutor can have a look to see whether there are any questions that need to be addressed. Now, the other reason why we've got this question slip is because not all students are extroverted. Not all students like to ask questions and raise their hand. So we've got a way for students who are a little bit more shy to be able to write down their questions here so that their needs can be addressed. And then at the end of the class, we ask the students whether they've achieved their goal that they'd set from the previous week. And what do they need clarified from that day's class, and what will be their new goal for the week? Because we firmly believe that the achievement of large goals is made up of the achievement of lots and lots of smaller goals. Now on the inside front cover, we've got our homework section. So at the end of the class, we ask the students to write down their homework here. The tutor will sign to make sure that it's written in correctly. The student will sign once they've finished their homework. The parent will sign just to check to make sure that everything's been completed, and then the following week the tutor will sign it again. And if parents have any issues or any comments, then there's a space here for them to write it down. And if the tutor has any comments as well, they'll write it down here as well. Now every book is directly linked to the current Victorian curriculum. So this particular book addresses these curriculum points. So you can be assured that what we are teaching in our classes is very, very relevant to what the students need to learn in that particular year level at school. Now this is what the spelling test page looks like. So this is one of the first tasks in our English classes. So we'll have the spelling test, which will test students on the words that were introduced to them the previous week. And once the test has been completed, we'll give the students the correct spelling. They'll write it down here, and then and any words that were misspelt, students need to write 5 times in this space. And this is what the spelling revision page looks like in the homework each week. So the way this works is, firstly, we have a pre-test. So students won't have seen these words before. We'll just dictate the words to the students. They'll write it down in the pre-test column. The tutor will then write down the actual words on the board. The students will copy it down, and then they will compare the actual spelling to what they produced in the pre-test column. And every day that week, they'll just follow this system where they look, say, chunk up the word, so they break it up into syllables, cover, write, and check. Now this is what the quiz looks like. So basically what we're doing is we're just revising the work from the previous week, and these results are posted online for parents to have a look at. So this is where you'll be able to access the quiz results. It's the MYSPECTRUMtuition.com website. So basically you just log in as a family, and this is what it looks like here. So you'll see the assessment in this column, the description of the task, you'll see the mark that your child achieved, and also their rank in the class. So you'll see here that for this particular assessment, where the student achieved a score of 13 out of 18, they achieved a B, and with this score, that was the 4th highest result out of the 6 results that were collected in the class. So even if there were 10 students in the class, 2 students might have achieved 10 out of 10, 2 students might have achieved 9 out of 10. So the score of 13 out of 18 means that your child achieved the 4th highest result in the class. So you can see what a B means in this particular class. Here the student only lost 3 marks, but that placed them 4th out of the 5 results that were collected. So with a score of B, even though it looks good, it is on the lower end in this particular class. Another great thing about this is that it gives parents real-time feedback on how your child has been performing in class. So rather than having to wait at the end of the term or at the end of the semester on information that you can't really do anything about, with this particular system, you get weekly feedback on how your child is performing. So, you can just log in on a Wednesday every single week when the results are posted, and you can see what the tutors are saying in terms of how your child can improve their results so that they can achieve a better result the following week. Okay, so once the quiz has been corrected in the class, we will engage the students with some sort of introductory activity. So it's some sort of engagement activity just to get the students started in the class. After that, we'll build on that knowledge, and we'll give them, we'll be teaching the actual content to the students in the building knowledge section. And then we'll go through worked examples, which are step-by-step questions that the tutor will go through with the students on the board. Okay, often what will happen is we'll have the students coming down onto the floor, we'll explain the work to the students on the floor, and then we'll give them what we call a have a go question, which is a question that's very, very similar to the worked example, but the student needs to apply the knowledge from the worked example to this particular question. So they complete this question independently, and then the tutor will tick to make sure that they've understood the work. If they've understood the work, they go on with the practice questions where it gives them some further practice. But if we find that the students are still having issues with the content, then what will happen is the tutor will group these students together and they'll keep reteaching the content, possibly with different questions, until the student understands and they feel confident enough to tackle the practice questions. Okay, and we also have extension work for any student who finishes their practice questions before the time runs out. So the good thing about the Spectrum booklets is that extension work is open to all students if they feel like they are capable of doing it. Whereas at school, it may be the case where extension work is just reserved for students who are in the upper groups. So here, if students want to push themselves, then extension work is provided for them. And then this is the homework. So the first question will be spelling and vocabulary, and then you'll see that the rest of the homework will just relate to exactly what was taught in class. So the idea is that we teach the students very, very carefully how to do the work in class so that when they go home, they can complete the homework independently. And then what happens with that is that the students become more self-motivated, they become a lot more confident with completing work independently, and this is really what the goal of school should be, just to get students to become independent learners. And what we also have at the back of every single book is a mistakes page. So after the work has been corrected, we encourage students to redo any questions answered incorrectly, and we find that this is a really, really important step that shouldn't be ignored, because when students get their books back from their teachers, it's very, very easy for them just to stash it in the back of their cupboard without really looking at it, whereas it's really, really important for students to learn from their mistakes so that they will be unlikely to repeat that same mistake in future, because the way our curriculum works is that all future weeks will build on from previous weeks. So it's really, really important for students to make sure that they do learn from their mistakes so that they can continue to engage with the work as the weeks progress. And what we also have at the back of each book is the answers sheet. So we have answers from the previous week, not for the current week's booklet, so that students and parents can look back and they can check if they like and just verify some answers. So what you can do is you can download your free sample course booklet according to whatever subject and year level you like, and you can also book your free assessment today at www.spectrumtuition.com/our-course-books. That's all I have for you today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.